Do you want to know how I ended up in teaching? Now, I am a secondary science teacher, but that is not all I am, and that's not where my story initially went. When I was in school, I was actually very interested in becoming a vet. I really love animals, I've always loved animals, and I knew I kind of wanted to do something in sort of the biology field, so veterinary seemed to make a lot of sense to me. It was then during my AS levels that I actually quite struggled with chemistry, so I did biology, maths, further maths and chemistry at AS level, and I struggled in chemistry. I got a D for my AS levels, and it just wasn't enough really to get me into any veterinary programs. So my school were happy for me to resit chemistry, and they said that most veterinary programs would be okay if I resat AS chemistry at the same time as doing A2 chemistry, but I would really have to fight my case to get in to do vets. And I just knew that was going to be a lot of work, and honestly I didn't enjoy chemistry enough, so I decided to drop it. It meant I had to drop any ideas of doing either veterinary or medicine, which was sort of my second choice, because you have to have chemistry for those. So I sort of looked down what is a similar science that involves animals, is biology based, and I settled on zoology. That was where I thought I was going. Now, for my undergraduate degree, I did apply and get places, or I think they were conditional places, for zoology courses. And I remember going to an offer holder open day at the University of Nottingham for their zoology course, and they kept talking about this new course that they were setting up where you got to go and live in Malaysia for a year, you studied at their Malaysia campus, and you studied more tropical based sciences, and that was the course I ended up changing to. I ended up going on, we started off being called tropical science. By the end of the course, apparently we were allowed to change the name, so I've graduated with a degree in tropical biology. I basically graduated from university and I had no idea what I was going to do. I did actually initially start a dog walking business because I was like, I just want to spend my days with animals. Like, genuinely, that is what makes me happier. So I kept looking around for jobs. I kept trying to work out what I would be good at and what would pay me pretty well. And I literally remember one evening sitting there on Indeed and I found a teaching job and I thought, oh my God, the starting salary is actually really good. But yeah, so that's what started off my career basically. I ended up looking into actually how do you go about the application process? How do you train? All of that. I managed to get an advisor who helped me with all of my applications, helped me with my personal statements, going around and seeing schools and sort of just understanding what teacher training entails. I interviewed for one and I interviewed in February 2020. So I started my teacher training in the September of 2020 and I trained to teach through 2 lockdowns. I qualified to become a teacher in 2021 and I was actually the first cohort to be an ECT as well. But that is my story into teaching.